Hey family, this is day 56 of our Reading Through the Bible Together in a Year series. Today we're covering Deuteronomy, or Devarim, chapters 19 through 22. Now Moses is giving laws to the generation of Israel that's going into the Promised Land, and he's making some things very clear and very specific for the way that Israel is supposed to behave. Now what we've discussed already in the previous readings is a lot of what God's expectations are for his people is specifically in contrast to the people that are already living in the land, right? He doesn't want them to worship the gods of the land because he doesn't want them to initiate the practices that are involved with worshiping the gods of the other land. He wants them to be set apart. He wants them to be different. He wants them to be a higher form of human being, right? He wants to lift them out of the animalistic state that they were entering into, and he wants them to be a light to the nations so that people can see them and see the God that governs them. And this is an important thing, right? That's the third of the 10 commandments. So let's see what happens today. When the nations whose land Yahweh your God is giving you have been cut off by him, and you have taken their place and are living in their towns and in their houses, you are to have 3 towns marked out in the land which Yahweh your God is giving you for your heritage. You are to make ready a way and see that the land which Yahweh your God is giving you for your heritage is marked out into 3 parts, to which any taker of life may go in flight. This is to be the rule for anyone who goes in flight there after causing the death of his neighbor in error and not through hate. For example, if a man goes into the woods with his neighbor for the purpose of cutting down trees, and when he takes his axe to give a blow to the tree, the head of the axe comes off and falling on to his neighbor gives him a wound causing his death, then the man may go in flight to one of these towns and be safe. For if not, he who has the right of punishment may go running after the taker of life in the heat of his wrath, and overtake him because the way is long, and give him a death blow, though it is not right for him to be put to death, because he was not moved by hate. And so I am ordering you to see that 3 towns are marked out for this purpose. And if Yahweh your God makes wide the limits of your land, as he said in his oath to your fathers, and gives you all the land which he undertook to give your fathers, if you keep and do all these orders which I give you today, loving Yahweh your God and walking ever in his ways, then let 3 more towns, in addition to these 3, be marked out for you, so that in all your land which Yahweh your God is giving you for your heritage, no man may be wrongly put to death, for which you will be responsible. But if any man has hate for his neighbor and waiting for him, secretly makes an attack on him and gives him a blow causing his death, and then goes in flight to one of these towns, the responsible men of his town are to send and take him, and give him up to the one who has the right of punishment to be put to death. Have no pity on him, so that Israel may be clear from the crime of putting a man to death without cause, and it will be well for you. Your neighbor's landmark, which was put in its place by the men of old times, is not to be moved or taken away in the land of your heritage, which Yahweh your God is giving you. One witness may not make a statement against a man in relation to any sin or wrongdoing which he has done, on the word of 2 or 3 witnesses. A question is to be judged. If a false witness makes a statement against a man, saying that he has done wrong, then the 2 men, between whom the argument has taken place, are to come before Yahweh, before the priests and judges who are then in power, and the judges will have the question looked into with care. And if the witness is seen to be false, and to have made a false statement against his brother, then do to him what it was his purpose to do to his brother, and so put away the evil from among you. And the rest of the people, hearing of it, will be full of fear, and never again do such evil among you. Have no pity. Let life be given for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. When you go out to war against other nations, and come face to face with horses and war carriages, and armies greater in number than yourselves, have no fear of them, for Yahweh your God is with you, who took you up out of the land of Egypt. And when you are on the point of attacking, let the priest come forward and say to the people, Give ear, O Israel, today you are going forward to the fight. Let your heart be strong, do not let uncontrolled fear overcome you because of those who are against you. For Yahweh your God goes with you, fighting for you to give you salvation from those who are against you. And let the overseers say to the people, If there is any man who has made for himself a new house and has not gone into it, let him go back to his house, so that in the event of his death in the fight, another may not take his house for himself. Or if any man has made a vine garden without taking the first fruits of it, let him go back to his house, so that in the event of his death in the fight, another may not be the first to make use of the fruit. Or if any man is newly married and has had no connection with his wife, let him go back to his house, so that in the event of his death in the fight, another man may not take her. And let the overseers go on to say to the people, if there is any man whose heart is feeble with fear, let him go back to his house before he makes the hearts of his countrymen feeble. Then, after saying these words to the people, let the overseers put captains over the army. When you come to a town, before attacking it, make an offer of peace. And if it gives you back an answer of peace, opening its doors to you, then all the people in it may be put to forced work as your servants. If, however, it will not make peace with you, but war, then let it be shut in on all sides. And when Yahweh your God has given it into your hands, let every male in it be put to death without mercy. But the women and the children and the cattle and everything in the town and all its wealth you may take for yourselves. The wealth of your haters, which Yahweh your God has given you, will be your food. So you are to do to all the towns far away, which are not the towns of these nations. But in the towns of these peoples, whose land Yahweh your God is giving you for your heritage, let no living thing be kept from death. Give them up to the curse, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, as Yahweh your God has given you orders, so that you may not take them as your example and do all the disgusting things which they do in the worship of their gods, so sinning against Yahweh your God. If in war a town is shut in by your armies for a long time, do not let its trees be cut down and made waste, for their fruit will be your food. Are the trees of the countryside men for you to take up arms against them? Only those trees which you are certain are not used for food may be cut down and put to destruction, and you are to make walls of attack against the town until it is taken. If in the land which Yahweh your God is giving you, you come across the dead body of a man in the open country, and you have no idea who has put him to death, then your responsible men and your judges are to come out and give orders for the distance from the dead body to the towns around it to be measured. And whichever town is nearest to the body, the responsible men of that town are to take from the herd a young cow which has never been used for work or put under the yoke. And they are to take the cow into a valley where there is flowing water, and which is not plowed or planted, and there the neck of the cow is to be broken. Then the priests, the sons of Levi, are to come near, for they have been marked out by Yahweh your God to be his servants, and to give blessing in the name of Yahweh. And by their decision every argument and every blow is to be judged. And all the responsible men of that town which is nearest to the dead man, washing their hands over the cow whose neck was broken in the valley, will say, This death is not the work of our hands, and our eyes have not seen it. Have mercy, O Lord, on your people Israel, whom you have made free, and take away from your people the crime of a death without cause. Then they will no longer be responsible for the man's death, so you will take away the crime of death without cause from among you, when you do what is right in the eyes of Yahweh. When you go out to war against other nations, and Yahweh your God gives them up into your hands, and you take them as prisoners, if among the prisoners you see a beautiful woman, and it is your desire to make her your wife, then take her back to your house, and let her hair and her nails be cut, and let her take off the dress in which she was made prisoner, and go on living in your house, and weeping for her father and mother for a full month. And after that you may go into her and be her husband, and she will be your wife. But if you have no delight in her, you are to let her go wherever she will. You may not take a price for her as if she was your property, for you have made use of her for your pleasure. If a man has 2 wives, one greatly loved and the other hated, and the 2 of them have children by him, and if the first son is the child of the hated wife, then when he gives his property to his sons for their heritage, he is not to put the son of his loved one in the place of the first son, the son of the hated wife, but he is to give his first son the birthright, and twice as great a part of his property, for he is the first fruits of his strength, and the right of the first son is his. If a man has a son who is hard-hearted and uncontrolled, who gives no attention to the voice of his father and mother, and will not be ruled by them, though they give him punishment, then let his father and mother take him to the responsible men of the town, to the public place, and say to them, This son of ours is hard-hearted and uncontrolled. He will not give attention to us. He gives himself up to pleasure and strong drink. Then he is to be stoned to death by all the men of the town, so you are to put away the evil from among you, and all Israel, hearing of it, will be full of fear. If a man does a crime for which the punishment is death, and he is put to death by hanging him on a tree, do not let his body be on the tree all night, but put it to rest in the earth the same day, for the man who undergoes hanging is cursed by God. So do not make unclean the land which Yahweh your God is giving you for your heritage. If you see your brother's ox or his sheep wandering, do not go by without helping, but take them back to your brother. If their owner is not near, or if you are not certain who he is, then take the beast to your house and keep it until the owner comes in search of it, and then you are to give it back to him. Do the same with his donkey or his robe or anything which has gone from your brother's keeping and which you have come across. Do not keep it to yourself. If you see your brother's ox or his donkey falling down on the road, do not go by without giving him help in lifting it up again. It is not right for a woman to be dressed in man's clothing, or for a man to put on a woman's robe. Whoever does such things is disgusting to Yahweh your God. If by chance you see a place which a bird has made for itself in a tree or on the earth, with young ones or eggs, and the mother bird seated on the young ones or eggs, do not take the mother bird with the young. See that you let the mother bird go, but the young ones you may take, so it will be well for you, and your life will be long. If you are building a house, make a railing for the roof, so that the blood of any man falling from it will not come on your house. Do not have your vine garden planted with two sorts of seed, or all of it may become a loss, the seed you have put in as well as the increase. Do not do your plowing with an ox and a donkey yoked together. Do not have clothing made of two sorts of thread, wool and linen together. On the four edges of your robe, with which your body is covered, put ornaments of twisted threads. If any man takes a wife, and having had connection with her has no delight in her, and says evil things about her and gives her a bad name, saying, I took this woman, and when I had connection with her, it was clear to me that she was not a virgin, then let the girl's father and mother put before the responsible men of the town, in the public place, signs that the girl was a virgin. And let the girl's father say to the responsible men, I gave my daughter to this man for his wife, but he has no love for her. And now he has put shame on her, saying that she is not a virgin. But here is the sign that she is a virgin. Then they are to put her clothing before the responsible men of the town. Then the responsible men of the town are to give the man his punishment. They will take from him 100 shekels of silver, which are to be given to the father of the girl, because he has given an evil name to a virgin of Israel. She will go on being his wife. He may never put her away all his life. But if what he has said is true, and she is seen to be not a virgin, then they are to make the girl come to the door of her father's house, and she will be stoned to death by the men of the town, because she has done evil and put shame on Israel, by acting as a loose woman in her father's house. So you are to put away evil from among you. If a man is taken in the act of going in to a married woman, the two of them, the man as well as the woman, are to be put to death. So you are to put away the evil from Israel. If a young virgin has given her word to be married to a man, and another man meeting her in the town has connection with her, then you are to take the two of them to the doorway of the town, and have them stoned to death. The young virgin, because she gave no cry for help, though it was in the town, and the man, because he has put shame on his neighbor's wife. So you are to put away evil from among you. But if the man, meeting such a virgin in the open country, takes her by force, then only the man is to be put to death. Nothing is to be done to the virgin, because there is no cause of death in her. It is the same as if a man made an attack on his neighbor and put him to death. For he came across her in the open country, and there was no one to come to the help of the virgin in answer to her cry. If a man sees a young virgin who has not given her word to be married to anyone, and he takes her by force and has connection with her, and discovery is made of it, then the man will have to give the virgin's father 50 shekels of silver and make her his wife, because he has put shame on her. He may never put her away all his life. A man may not take his father's wife or have connection with a woman who is his father's. So the reading today involved a lot of laws that, on our end of time, 2,000 years post-Jesus, are super weird, almost seem barbaric in some ways. But we have to take them with a grain of salt. We have to take them and put them in their cultural context. And this is one of the most important things. I know that a lot of people like to use some of the Old Testament passages to explain why the God of the Old Testament is not the God of the New Testament, or while the God of the Bible may be cruel, right? That's a position that a lot of people take when they have issues with Christianity. They like to point at the Old Testament and say, see, this God is barbaric. But one of the things that we do when we come to the Bible as believers is that we have to understand and we have to expect that whatever law is given in this book, whatever rules from God or things that from Jesus' mouth, for example, we have to think about those things as being better than the situation that they're entering into. We have to assume that God is on the progressive side of whatever situation he's in, right? If we think all of this stuff about the virgin and what the man can and can't do with a woman and all of these things, we have to assume that in these chapters that God is entering into a society that is worse than these laws and taking a step forward with these laws. And I know that a lot of that can be deduced by going and looking at other nations' laws that we have copies of from the same time period, 3,500 years ago, right? Like Babylonian law and Canaanite law and Canaanite God worship and Babylonian God worship and all the things involved. We always have to remember what the context is. And so this is God lifting his people out of a bad situation and into a better situation. But it seems that it always gets better and closer to pure reconciliation with God, which is why Jesus is at the culmination of that. And I hope that you are going to think hard about that, because I even reading these things today, reading through these things out loud, some of it is like, wow, how is that good? How is that the moral thing? How is that the right thing? But you always have to remember to put it in its context and be thankful that we have the ability to critique some of these things because we are 2,000 years past Jesus, who gives the ultimate critique of everything, right? And we ascribe to Jesus' perspective. And Jesus considered this his book, his law, what he ascribed to. What he quotes the book of Deuteronomy 3 times in the wilderness when tempted by the devil. So we just have to put all of it together and remember the context. So I hope that you have some things to think about, and go on and have a wonderful day.